me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
My focus now is really helping others within my organization and outside of my organization. I've mentored folks in other communities, helping people to be where they want to be, where they can shine, where they can bring their talent forward and be the best that they can be. Being in another organization, that's totally fine. I want to see everyone that I work with shine and reach their full potential. So that's my legacy, is really helping people to reach their full potential.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. We're featuring a truly special guest, Karen O'Donnell, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Wheat Ridge. Wheat Ridge is a community deeply rooted in agriculture, which is beautifully reflected in their innovative regenerative agriculture program and the unique goat grazing initiative. They've also been a Tree City USA for over 45 years, showcasing their dedication to urban forestry. You'll hear about their community garden, Happiness Gardens, which promotes soil health and food security, even featuring indigenous farming practices. And get ready to smile as Karen shares details about their delightful annual goat parade. This is a conversation you won't want to miss, highlighting how parks and recreation truly enrich communities. Let's dive in. All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc, the doorman, with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series. I have a special guest, Karen O'Donnell, catching her right before a trip that I want her to tell us about. Karen, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm going to play a quick commercial to help people understand what we're trying to do with DPRS Media Company. It's basically a media company built for Parks and Recreation. As we try to just raise awareness, lift up the stories, highlight everybody, and all the great stuff that's happening in Parks and Rec. So we'll play this and we'll come right back with Karen. Welcome to DPRS Media Co., the first media company built for the people behind the Parks and Rec community. We don't just cover on Parks and Rec, we elevate it, we amplify it, we honor it. At the heart of everything we do is one mission: to serve the public servants, the professionals who design, maintain, and lead the parks that shape our communities. Under the Daily Parks and Rec Show, we produce 6 powerful platforms. Leadership in Parks and Rec, a spotlight on directors, superintendents, and visionaries shaping the future of public spaces. Facility maintenance, where the boots hit the ground, a deep dive into the systems, crews, and craftsmanship that keep our parks clean, safe, and beautiful. Young Professionals Network, shining a light on the next generation of Parks and Rec. Students, interns, and mentors sharing how we build a legacy together. Youth Sports Mastery, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. This series is for coaches, parents, and rec leaders working to make youth sports fun, fair, and meaningful again. The Rec Room, hosted by the passionate leaders of Henry County Parks and Rec. This show brings frontline energy and real-life stories from the field. And the weekly Parks and Rec Post, our official newsletter delivering stories, insights, and community wins every week. We are DPRS Media Co., LLC, a media company with a mission to uplift the professionals who serve every community, every park, every day. All right, so that's what we're doing over here at the Daily Parks and Rec Show. I wanted Karen to tell us, we were just talking offline about the little trip she's going on. I love how Parks and Rec people are so adventurous, and she's just going with it. So tell us where you're heading.
Yeah, so my dog is absolutely terrified of fireworks, so I need to get out of the Denver metro area. So I just kind of hopped on VRBO last week and thought, where can I go in Colorado, Utah, Wyoming? And I am heading to Sundance, Wyoming, to a working horse ranch for the next 3 nights.
Wow.
We'll see. It's an
Any
adventure.
scheduled activities, or what do they anticipate you'll be
I
doing?
don't necessarily. I mean, they do have horseback riding there, which I hope to participate in. But then also the Devil's Tower National Monument is close by. Mount Rushmore is an hour and a half away. I've never been there.
Mhm.
All sorts of different things in that area that I've
Mhm.
never visited. So
And have you
what?
ever done horseback riding before, or?
Yeah, a couple of times. I went to riding camp as a kid, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, you're gonna have a blast. That's
yeah.
just gorgeous country. Well, actually, you live in gorgeous country, just
I
in the middle of it.
do.
Well, let's go back, and I know you have a very interesting story about how you got all the way into Colorado, where you came from, kind of where you grew up as a child, and then how you got into Parks and Rec. So tell us about, your childhood growing up a little bit.
Start from the beginning. So I am
Mhm,
from the Cleveland, Ohio area. I am, for better or for worse, a Cleveland sports fan.
mhm.
And yeah, I went to Ohio University in Athens, Ohio. I studied therapeutic recreation. And even getting into that was a little bit of a story because I didn't quite know what I wanted to major in when I started. I thought about elementary education. I thought about hearing and speech sciences, took a few classes. And it wasn't until I was on a whitewater rafting trip that I met somebody that was a therapeutic recreation major. And I thought, what's that? That sounds really cool. Like combining recreation and helping people. Great, I'm in. So I switched my major and that's what I studied and graduated from Ohio University with a degree in therapeutic recreation. And from there, I did my internship in Douglasville, Georgia, working with teenage boys with emotional behavioral disorders.
Mhm.
And I really loved that. So I continued in that area, but I moved to Yonkers, New York, to take on a role at a organization called Andrus Children's Center, doing the same thing, residential treatment.
Now, how do you find emotional behavior disorders?
How do I what? How do I
How
define
do
it?
Yeah, for those not familiar with
Man,
that part
that was a long time ago. You're making me go to a part of my brain from 25 years ago. But
of it.
there's just a variety of different diagnoses. The kids that I worked with, a lot of like oppositional defiant disorder. Um, God, trying to think of any other
And
particular diagnoses.
what age group is this?
Essentially, a lot of so I worked with like 12 to 15-year-old boys, and again in residential settings. So they lived on campus and went to school on campus, and
Mhm.
I worked with them a lot on developing positive relationships and um, coping mechanisms and how to deal with difficult challenges and things like that. So I would create opportunities, mostly like I did a lot of outdoor work. We had a therapeutic ropes course on campus, and I used that as a tool to kind of help with the challenges that those young men were facing at the time.
Mhm.
So a lot of group therapy and then some individual as well. So
And this all fits in that, umbrella category of therapeutic recreation that we see in Parks and Recreation, correct?
yes, correct. So, there's a lot of components to that. A lot of times it's working with people with physical disabilities. And this was in particular just a little bit different, but I've
Mhm.
done it all over my
Yeah.
career for sure. But
Okay, so
um,
you discover Parks and Rec as a career path. How old were you then when you actually got into Parks and Rec?
how old was I? Well, it was right after I graduated college so I don't know, 21, 22
Mhm.
that I started in therapeutic recreation. And during that time in 2005, I got my master's in public administration and
Mm.
had a colleague that was a recreation therapist that moved over to the municipal recreation side. And he said, "Hey, Karen, you should really consider this, both less burnout and more money. Woo, we know we get paid a ton, right, in Parks and Rec."
Right.
But anyway, so I looked into that, and that's really kind of how I found my path into municipal parks and recreation. In the state of New York, I first worked for the town of Greenburgh as a recreation supervisor.
Mm.
Yeah.
Alright, so you're in New York,
Mhm.
and so then how long did you work there for?
I was with the town of Greenburgh for a couple of years and then moved on to the city of Rye, New York as their, what was my title? Assistant superintendent, I think, in recreation there. So I moved positions more as a career growth opportunity, not because I loved every place that I worked and the people that I worked with, but it was always just an opportunity to grow in my career path. So I didn't jump around just to kind of find more money, or, people have a lot of different reasons for that. For me, it was really just advancing my career. So I did that in Rye, New York. And I was at a point where I was like, gosh, I like New York. I was just misquoted in an article saying that I don't like New York. So I just want to be very clear. I think I said it to you in a previous conversation that I joke that I wish there's the I Heart New York t-shirts. I want to make one that says I kind of like New York as a friend. That's how I feel about New York. So anyway, I love the opportunities that I had there, but I felt like I really need a change. I need to get somewhere that feels more like home.
Yeah.
So I did my searching, and I ended up with the city of Commerce City in the Denver metro area as the recreation manager. And I was there for about 8.5 years before moving into my current role as the director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Wheat Ridge. And I've been here for about 6 years.
6 years as director? And that was your first role as a director in Parks and Rec?
Mm-hmm.
So what was that transition like out of, you had a predominantly therapeutic recreation background, correct?
Well, early on, for, again, the first 6 years, and then I moved into just general municipal recreation. So early on, I was running summer camps and organizing fitness classes and things like that. So a little bit different outside of the residential treatment zone, but I always had that little expertise that not everybody brings to the table. So that was always, I feel like, helpful in every role I've been in. But yeah, the transition, I mean, for me, it was really interesting. When I was in Commerce City, I loved what I was doing. I had so many opportunities to work on major capital projects that a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do in their entire career. So I've always felt like I will cherish those years, and, absolutely loved the city and loved the people that I worked for. But somebody texted me one day. I was on my couch and I got a text that said, "Hey, have you considered applying for this job? We'd love to have you lead our team." And I was like, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. So I wasn't planning on applying for the job, but I said, why not? I'll throw my name out there, and the rest is history. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, what's your educational journey as far as on-the-job training, things you had to learn to kind of prepare you for your director? I know you had mentioned you were fairly active in all the associations that were around you at the times, but can you maybe explain the journey a little bit?
I've definitely participated in state associations. I think that's really important. In New York, we had more local associations too. Like I was in Westchester County, and they have their own little organization there. It's a little different than in Colorado. We just have the state association. So I've participated in all along on various boards associated with those groups. I attend conferences regularly, whether it's the state conference, or more recently, I've attended more NRPA conferences to kind of just keep up on trends and communicate with other professionals in the field. I think that's really important. I participated in Director School a few years ago. It's, one of the schools hosted by, well, actually, I'm not sure. I think Director School is NRPA specifically. Some of them have different sponsors.
Yeah.
And let's see what else.
What did director school do for you, as far as what gaps did you find that it filled for you?
Well, I think some of the topics that I thought were really beneficial were budgeting, because that obviously your responsibility grows as you move up in the organization in terms of budgeting. But also there were courses on the legal aspects of the job. That's something that, again, you don't really have to consider much until you're moving up within an organization, unless you're specifically involved in an incident per se. But so I think, and for me, I think the most beneficial thing about those schools is the networking, and the fact that those people that I met are the people I continue to reach out to when I have issues, and they reach out to me likewise, and we bounce ideas off of each other. And we're the people that get together at conference and hang out in our free time. I mean, you just meet people that will be relationships for life.
Yeah. And that's classmates and the people who is running those, as far as mentors? Are these just directors that volunteer their time that have experience?
Yeah, you I think, I mean, I'm not participating in director school now, but I am on the board of regents for the supervisors management school. It's very similar. And, you submit an application if you're interested in serving on the board, and then current board members will review those applicants and fill the gaps based on available spaces on the board. So yeah, in director school, I know it's generally just directors from across the country, or perhaps retired professionals or consultants. It's a lot of different areas that serve within those roles. But
And so tell me more about this supervisor. As you said, supervisor school, is that just a regional thing or Colorado thing, or is that a national?
it's national. So supervisors management school is held at the Ogilvy Training Center in Wheeling, West Virginia every year. And let's see, it's really just developing professionals in terms specifically of their supervisory skills. So in some cases, it's new supervisors, and sometimes it's supervisors that are just kind of wanting to brush up their skills and be better at what they do. So in serving the employees that are their direct reports. So we have, a few hundred students, and it's growing because we have a year 1 program and a year 2 program. And we're just adding, we've always had 2 classes in each year 1 and year 2, and now we're adding 3. So it's definitely growing because the interest is there, and we want to serve as many people as we can. We get a lot of folks from the East Coast just because of the location of the school, but we do have students from all over the country. Yeah.
Now, when you say supervisor, what does that cover? Anybody in management, or is it people wanting to be a director or department head? Or how is that?
Really any of those, because there are the different opportunities. I feel like when somebody's really close to being a director school might be the best opportunity for them. But those either, again, just starting out as a first-time supervisor and not really having those skills yet developed, or those really just kind of working their way up in middle management. Some of these organizations are huge. Like there's a program out of Maryland where there's thousands and thousands of employees, whereas I'm a very small community here where we have 58 employees. So it's just a different feel. But also, my first year on the board, I really had no idea, but you have people from all different aspects, like not just, a lot of times you see folks on the recreation side, but there's also a lot of parks professionals. There's somebody that's part of like waste management because that falls within their parks department, for example. There's marketing folks. There's people from all across the board. So that's a really cool aspect of being both a regent, but also a student, is really the interesting people that you get to interact with.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, is that like a weekend thing? What's if you can share any costs associated with it?
Great question. I couldn't tell you the costs off the top of my head, but it is available. I do think registration may have just opened. We hold our school generally the first week in November. Last year was a little different just because we wanted to avoid the election. We didn't want to be there during that time frame. But it's a few days. I want to say it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. I don't know. It's a few days. It's not a full week, but it's more than 2 days.
And is it like a one-time thing, or is it something you can continue to go to throughout your career?
It's 2 years. So you can do most people do year 1 and year 2 consecutively, but not always. Like when I did director school, I wasn't funded to do it consecutively. So I had a different class when I came back for year 2, but that's okay. And then we, of course, always have students that are like, can't you please offer a year 3 or a graduate program, because they just enjoy it and they want to keep coming back. But
yeah, that's cool. So tell me more about the Colorado Parks and Rec Association.
Sure. We are actually fortunate in Wheat Ridge because their offices are based out of our city here. But
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's cool. They're a great small but mighty group of folks. But a lot of people, throughout the state volunteer, whether like I started on the conference committee, and that's how I first met people and started getting engaged in the professional association. But and of course, attending conferences and interacting with folks there. But I also served on the board. This was several years ago now, but as the president-elect and then the president. But there's lots of opportunities to get involved, whether there's in Colorado, there's different subgroups based on kind of your professional area of expertise. So there's like an aquatics group, an athletics group, a director's section, there's a recreation manager section, so park section. So you can get involved like locally in terms of what you do and in your specific role. And, I think it's a good resource for when you're having issues to have people to reach out to. And anyway, so that's one opportunity. I am not quite as involved as I used to be, and it's primarily because of the Supervisors Management School Board.
Mhm.
I just get pulled in a lot of different directions.
Right,
So
right.
it's tough to do it all, but I am looking forward to a time when I can kind of get back to that because it's
Yeah.
really important.
And so what is it like to kind of sit on these boards? What are the decisions you're helping make? Is it more the curriculum or how we can kind of serve the people as far as the students? What are some of the things that y'all are doing?
It's a lot of both. So Supervisors Management School has been really, really great because, I just work with top tier professionals, and some of them I knew before and some of them I didn't. And so getting to interact with these folks is just amazing. I mean, they're people that care about this profession through and through and want to see the best possible. Sorry, I have an announcement in my office. Maintenance to the front desk. This is how it goes. Right?
This is not an AI generated show. It's real.
Right. Totally real. This is what happens day to day.
Can I have your attention again? Can Rudy Martinez please come to the front desk? Again, Rudy Martinez.
I feel like I'm back in school. I remember they would make those announcements when you're sitting in your desk.
I wonder who Rudy Martinez is and what they need him for at the front desk. But anyway, now I'm distracted, and we were talking about what decisions we make on the board. So
yeah, as a board member,
it kind of depends on the year. So it was 2 years ago, we took a real deep dive into the curriculum and thought, okay, let's reestablish our goals. And are the courses that we're offering meeting those goals? Because a lot of times it's just like, well, I taught that last year, so I'm going to teach it this year. And you just keep kind of reteaching the same thing. And we really took a look at, how we're serving the students and if some of those were necessary courses. So for example, I taught a class on trends in parks and recreation just because it had been on the curriculum before. It was one of the classes that somebody that termed off the board taught. And so when I first started, that's the one I got, right? Mm-hmm. We kind of decided that's something people can get on their own. That's not something that necessarily makes you a better supervisor. It makes you a better professional, but maybe not a better supervisor, right? Mm-hmm. And NRPA puts out trends information every year. A lot of organizations do. So rather than regurgitating that information, we kind of looked at what other opportunities were available. Another big thing that we did is that school for probably decades offered the Myers-Briggs test, and they utilized that as a tool that was used throughout the school. And our board took a look at that and thought, there's a lot of different opportunities out there that are similar. And is there something that might be better for our school? And we decided to go with the Clifton Strengths program. And so that's one of the things that I actually teach at the school. So,
and what do you find there's a difference between those two?
For me, everybody's a little bit different. I think it's more tangible. I think Myers-Briggs, people put out those letters like I can't even tell you what the letters are because I don't remember. Right. But 4 letters, and that's how you identify yourself and whatever. Right. And there's this whole printout of 30 pages of things about you and whatnot. And for me, that was just a little more abstract. For Clifton Strengths, you get words that just make sense. Right. So like positivity, like everybody knows what positivity means, but you can dive deeper in how does that positivity affect the other people around you, both in a good way and a bad way, because it as much as that's a great thing, it can also be, for example, somebody might look at me and think I'm not serious, that I'm just making stuff up and just trying to make people feel good, but it's not genuine. So you learn those little hurdles in addition to how you benefit your team. And then you can kind of learn about all of the different strengths that exist and what other people on your team bring to the table. I also think it's really important because if you can have your whole entire team do the Clifton Strengths, and it's relatively inexpensive depending on the level of information that you want to receive, you can find where there's gaps on your team And I think it's an important tool for hiring folks. Like,
Yeah.
what are the gaps and what are we looking for on our team?
Yeah.
So,
And I remember when we used to use those, we used a couple of them. It was, if we had anybody that was just had a lot of fulfillment, did great at their job, wanted to be here forever, we would test them and say, when we hire someone in this role again, we want them to test similar to how our A players are testing in that position, because um, you don't want to make the mistake of hiring someone that's a great fit for accounting and putting them in sales. That would be a disaster. Something like that. Is that how y'all would use them as well, to try to understand what the positions as well as the people?
I think so. I really do. But it can just be used in so many different ways, but I
Mhm.
think there's just real value in it. And for us in the city of Wheat Ridge, our recreation manager took the lead on utilizing that with her team not too long ago. And she'll, at meetings, will bring up exercises, just like a quick little exercise to just so that it doesn't get lost and forgotten, that it's
Mm,
always kind of on the tip of people's tongue, and it can be utilized in conversation. So,
mm.
and we don't always do a great job of making sure every new employee takes it, but it's like every time we talk about it, then it's like, oh yeah, let's get all the 3 newest people on board so that we can continue
Right.
using this as a department, because it's
Yeah.
important.
And so, a lot of people might be thinking that, I would get on a board to kind of give back, but maybe could you speak even to, I mean, yeah, you're giving back, but what does that do for you, as far it's got to help with your connectivity, with your understanding the industry better? What is that making you as a person when you sit on a board? How is that beneficial to Karen?
Yeah, I think you're totally right. When people ask like why you get on a board, and it is always that, well, not always, but I think for me it's been like wanting to give back, right? Because I
Mhm.
care about this profession. But it is beneficial to me. As I mentioned, I am around some amazing professionals. Like, I don't know if you know Lisa Paradis, she's part of Barry Dunn
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
organization. And
He's
we
scheduled
both,
at some point to come on to the show.
oh, that's
It's in the pipeline somewhere.
she and I got on the board the same year, and she's somebody that I just admired in the field. And I hadn't met her before our first meeting. And I was like, I can't believe like I'm in the same category as her. She's amazing. Right. So,
Yeah.
and we've become really great friends, but, and again, she's somebody that I can reach out to anytime I have any issue, and she'll help me. And I know you've had Atuya on your show. He's
Mhm.
amazing, and he's an incredible speaker. And the cool thing is at Supervisors Management School is when we're not teaching, we call it room hosting, where you're just kind of sitting there in case there's a technical issue or somebody needs you to pass out papers for a an interactive exercise that they're working on or something like that. So we get to observe the other regents teaching, and man, that guy is an
Mhm.
incredible speaker. So, I get to see how other people present and learn from them, because that's something I feel like we can always learn and grow, both in our presentation skills, in our interaction skills as serving on a board. Everybody comes with a different personality in a different way, and different ideas. So it's really cool. I mean, it's cool because we've tried to really diversify our board in a lot of different ways. And so we just have a lot of different ideas that come up. So
Yeah. And do y'all have like a term, like they'll serve for 3 years and then you roll off, or how is that?
yeah, you can do 3 2-year terms. So I am in year 4 of 6, and I'm the chair this year. So that's been really fun too.
Oh, goodness, you're leading the charge. How is
Yeah.
that going for you?
So far, so good. But, it's always tough because when you have so many things, and we all do, going on, it's like, oh crap, we have deadlines. We have a meeting coming up. Trying to
Yeah.
stay ahead of it and do an effective job
Yeah.
is sometimes tough. But
Fantastic. Well, yeah, that's a great organization. Okay, so shifting gears a little into, well, we're kind of at the halfway point. Let me go ahead and play this commercial for YSM, and then I want to go into, you know, Wheat Ridge, your town, that kind of stuff.
okay.
And then, so the commercial I'm going to play right now is for our Thursday show, all things sports related, youth sports. I have a host, Aaron Locke's been doing this for like 40 years. It's just a master in this arena. So we have a show every Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern for those interested in it. If you're an athletic director or a coach or a referee or anything like that, you get some of the country's best on his show. So I'll play this and we'll be right back.
At DPRS Media Co., we don't just create content, we elevate community through storytelling. Now, we're proud to introduce the newest addition to the family. Welcome to Youth Sports Mastery, the podcast where champions are shaped, not just on the field, but in life. Hosted by National Academy of Athletics founder Aaron Locks. Youth Sports Mastery dives deep into how youth sports can empower kids, strengthen communities, and build leaders. From coaching culture to recreation strategy, and from player development to parent impact, every episode brings game-ready insight from the people making it happen. Youth Sports Mastery goes live every Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Only on the Daily Parks and Rec Show, sponsored by National Academy of Athletics. And powered by DPRS Media Co. This is where purpose meets play.
All right, I guess while we're on that topic a little bit, what do y'all do as far as youth sports in your community? Is that something that's big over there, or do y'all have a larger city that kind of covers that for y'all? Or
yeah, no, we do a fair bit of youth athletics. I think the most popular here is soccer, and right now we just have our interesting issue is that our school district closed a couple of schools a few years ago, and our primary field where soccer takes place is one of the schools that closed. So we're trying to figure out how to acquire that property. So it's one of the fun, expensive things we're working on right now with some partners. But yeah.
Yeah. Now, how about any other recreational sport activities? Do y'all do anything? I don't know. Theater. Like I had a Eunice on yesterday, and they had a huge like the performing arts run by the Parks and Rec department. But there's so many other things that are not necessarily your traditional baseball, soccer, volleyball. Do you have anything like that going on in your community?
We have things more for adults, I think, that are just a little bit different. But with kids right now, it's just summer camp season. That's the big thing here. But, yeah. I mean, we just have a wide variety of things, from music to dance to athletics and swimming. That's another big thing. And another big hurdle that we are facing is our outdoor pool needs replacement. And boy, not a lot of grants want to cover that funding. So that's a big one. It's a huge one. So
can you say the bill on that one, or do y'all even know a roundabout cost?
Estimate is about $17 million. So without any grant dollars, who knows how we're going to manage that? But we are in the point this year of educating the community and doing a lot of surveying and a lot of interactive work with community members, with youth in the community, to really establish the value so that when we are seeking grant funds, we have a lot of data to back up our community's desire to keep our pool.
And what does that look like? Is your aquatic center just one big Olympic-sized pool with a building, and y'all are trying to
we have different pools in our outdoor. This is the outdoor pool we're referring to. We have an indoor pool here too. But yeah, 2 different pools on site with a water slide. There's a pavilion, different shade structures. We do our locker room and staff area was renovated in 2019, I believe. So that piece doesn't need to be redone, but the whole pump room and everything associated, the whole pool. It's from 1977.
Oh, wow. That one is old.
I'm also from 1977. So you just called me old. So.
Yep. I'm a year older. We're both old together.
Anyway.
All right. So let's talk about this. And this is one of the most interesting things about y'all. And I wish more cities would kind of take y'all's take on it, but you had mentioned about this regenerative gardening that y'all have, and I want to get, is it YY Dennis?
Yes,
is who's in charge of that, but kind of where did that start from? Was that already in play by the time you got here, or how did that? And maybe just explain a quick commercial as to what it is and what do y'all do.
Okay, I'm going to do my very best, but again, YY is my expert, and we have a few others. We have some great volunteers, but regenerative well, let me take a step back. So the city of Wheat Ridge was established on a rich history of agriculture. So it's really important to the roots of our community. And so this regenerative agriculture program started, it was, I want to say like 2020. I'm terrible. I don't remember what year, but I was here when it started. And it started with a partnership with Jefferson County Conservation. Now I'm going to forget the name of their organization, but the Conservation Association. I don't know. Anyway, we had a partnership and established some grant funding to really start this program to promote this idea in Wheat Ridge of regenerative agriculture. And I think, and part of it had been in place. So I mentioned to you before we got on the show about goats. We do have a goat grazing program in Wheat Ridge, and that's been going on since before I started. And that's a component of it. But essentially, the regenerative agriculture involves soil health and really creating this sustainable system where there's, let me think of how I could say this, priorities in building healthy soil. We have some indigenous farming that takes place on site, and even some individuals brought in, it sounds really bizarre, but like bison dung to bring back the elements of the earth that existed before that we've as humans destroyed. And so it's really improving disease cycles and climate change and things like that, improving the biodiversity in the soil, helping, and that helps with the food security because it helps the different foods that grow from the earth to grow in more abundance, I would say. So it's really, and there's a lot to do with mycelium. That's something that is beyond my scope of knowledge, but we have some folks
I'm
that
actually an amateur mycologist. I studied that for, probably 4 years, and it is a field of study that is just a rabbit hole when you go down. It's crazy.
So I probably sound like a moron, and you can jump in and correct me. I don't know. I'm doing my best.
I'll say this one thing, that mycelium represents 70% of the biomass on Earth. Everything else that you see, trees, grass, everything else is collectively is 30%. So it's you're walking on it everywhere you walk. It's everywhere.
Cool.
And so now when you say things like indigenous, you're just talking about things that grew a long time ago, trying to bring that original biodiversity back into your.
Yes. And I mean, it's pretty specific. So we have a woman named Narissa is an indigenous individual in our community, and she operates a organization. It's called Chi'il Indigenous Farms, I believe. And she has a whole catering program, or I don't know if she serves food out of a commercial kitchen that she cooks with the things that she's grown on site. And again, I couldn't speak to the detail, but there's like certain potatoes that are different from the potatoes that we buy at the store that she grows that no one else grows. I don't know. I just find it very interesting. But we also have an individual that's participated in so many of these programs that has helped us. As a city, we created a land acknowledgement statement a few years ago, and then with that, an action plan, because it's really important for it to not just be a performative piece and to really act on that. But we had an individual that helped with that, and then she comes to a lot of our events and does blessings of the earth. I mean, it's all just this whole holistic component where we're utilizing just different people from the community that bring a little something different. I don't know how else to explain it other than it's different and it's great and it's wonderful, and our community just really embraces it. So
yeah. And so now what land is it? Is it some public land or where do you do a lot of this stuff?
Yeah, I'd say primarily we do some of our events at different sites, but it's primarily held at our community garden, which is called Happiness Gardens. So, and we've gotten a lot of grant funding to expand that. There's been partnerships with Denver Urban Gardens. There's a food forest there now. It just keeps growing. There's composting on site. Lots of individuals can buy plots or rent plots for the season. And then again, there's some public space, there's event space, and just it's a happening spot. It's beautiful.
Man,
and it's a long
I cannot
way.
wait to cover this. This is I'm a I don't want to say avid gardener, but my grandmother was an avid gardener, and I've never gotten close to replicating what she used to do. Um, but
Yeah.
have my compost pile, I grow my little peppers and tomatoes and stuff like that. But I love to see this happening on a community level. With I mean, everything you just mentioned, I think more people should get out and do that kind of stuff. And I don't know what it does for you from a therapeutic recreation standpoint, but every time I work in the garden and eat out of the garden and compost and stuff, I feel a lot better. So I don't know what's going on there.
That's right. Our YY, the individual I was talking about, she created a program that's just being outdoors and connecting with nature just for your soul. I don't know what she's calling it. I don't know, but it's just like, here's a time to show up for yourself and just be with nature. And I just thought that was so cool, because who doesn't need that or want that?
Yes, I would love to do just a monthly podcast just on that topic. Maybe I can find like 12 YYs if you're out there throughout the country. Just do once a year. You come do a show and we'll do 12 a year.
Yeah, she's awesome. You would love talking to her. I'm gonna highly recommend that.
And so you'd mentioned about your urban forests, and you said you now have an urban forestry division. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've had a forestry division long before my time. So we are Tree City USA in Wheat
Really?
Ridge. I think for 45 years, 46 years. I don't know. One of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any idea how many trees you'll have under management? Or is
Oh, I should know that. I don't know. Maybe I know. No, I don't. I was going to say, I don't know if I have that in.
Yeah, I actually
like 4,000, but I could be completely making that up. So don't quote me.
yeah, that sounds about right. And y'all have, how many acres do y'all have that the rec department kind of manages?
We have 373 acres of open space and 21 parks, 22 ball fields.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. And does that include the school systems that y'all are trying to?
No.
Oh my gosh. And y'all are what, 33,000 people?
Yeah, about
That
32.
seems like fairly large, but that seems to be common in Colorado, that and some of the other states where, you might have double the parkland and system that y'all are managing versus some of the other states that I've worked with.
For sure. I always find it's interesting because, we're updating our master plan. It's called the Parks and Recreation Pathway. And when you compare to other positions and systems nationally, it's just so different. Like coming from New York, we had a building, but we didn't have a recreation center. We utilize the schools in partnerships a lot for our activities. It's just very different here. And that's a great way to work as well. It's just different.
Yeah.
Different amount of employees and different challenges to face and different budget hurdles and all of those things. So
yeah. And I just think the Colorado people in general, it's just a, wide brush general statement, seem to be more of an outdoorsy crowd.
And that's one of the, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but one of the things I say to folks for the reason why I moved here is, I'm very passionate about my profession. And in New York, a city council, that would be the first thing they cut. I mean, I remember the city council in Rye, New York, having conversations about like, why can't we just have folks utilize the YMCA? Why do we need Parks and Rec as well? And it's like, when my boss had served her entire career in that community, and I can't imagine how that felt to her because I knew how it felt to me. Right. And then coming out here, it's the last thing to get cut. People Parks and Rec, like people would be up in arms, right? Even talking about this outdoor pool and the potential that it might close if we don't get funding. People are like ready to go to bat for us and fundraise and what can I do, because it's just been an important part of their lives. So.
Well, and it's, if you don't use your parks, I get it, if there's just a lot more to do, like in New York or something like that, but, parks is the thing to do, in Colorado. That's, getting outdoor. That's why people move there. It's, I think, embedded in the culture, and then that's just gonna, I guess, trickle its way into the local government. Um,
For sure.
yeah, so hopefully y'all can get what you need for that swimming pool, because I know swimming is just a critical, life-saving skill that y'all are teaching over there.
Absolutely.
All right, so tell me about this. Well, we have one special event that I want to highlight, but special events in general. What goes on in your town?
Let's see. What do we have? We have some of it's our own. Like right now, we have performances in the park every Wednesday. A ton of people come out. They love the variety of music outdoors every week during the summer. And we're just finishing up a new park. It'll be open. Our grand opening is September 6th. It's going to be a really awesome new space, and kind of creating that downtown feel in our community that we don't really have a downtown, but it's the closest we'll get to that, a nice community gathering space. And that will also have a stage. So we'll have more performances there throughout the years, going into next year. And then we have a holiday event. We have a trunk or treat event every year. Just a variety of different things. And then community-wide, we have something called the Carnation Festival, and there's just a separate committee. It is funded through the city, but it's not necessarily run by Parks and Recreation. We support them, but it's a committee-run event every year. It's a huge thing with bands and all the rides and the concessions and all of those things that you see in a lot of different communities.
Yeah.
And we have something called Rig Fest that just happened last weekend, and that's run by a community organization called Local Works. And it's really highlighting, there's a lot of artists that share their work that you can purchase there. And then there's bands and food and all the things, and brings the community together. So we do a lot of things like that, bringing the community together. But I think my favorite one that I mentioned to you offline was our goat parade. And again, going back to the regenerative agriculture, that's very Wheat Ridge. I don't know anybody else that does a goat parade, but it's this time of year. It was last weekend, and we have goats from a farm. It's called Five Fridges Farm, and it happens to be owned by one of our city council members. And she's terming off this year, but has committed to continuing this in perpetuity because we all love it. But we had probably about 50 or 60 members of the community of all ages that came out on Saturday morning just to walk the goats. We walked down 32nd Avenue in Wheat Ridge, which is, a main thoroughfare in town. We walk and people just look at us like we're crazy because you don't usually see goats walking down the street. But we walk them from the farm to our Lewis Meadows open space where they graze for a few months before they go from site to site. So they will by the end of the season go to Happiness Gardens after all of the gardeners are finished with their gardens for the season. The goats come in and take care of all of the weeds. So it's an amazing event. It's just so fun.
Yeah, we actually had, this was early on when we started this show. We had somebody that have goats that maintain their graveyard. And he said they're their best employees they ever had. They show up every day, do a good day's work, never complain.
I will have to add too, my favorite part is, so all the goats are named after musicians. So we have Willie Nelson, we have Arlo, we have Simon Garfunkel, and Lenny Kravitz. And this year there was a new goat added to the lineup. And after 6 years of begging, I got to name the goat. So it's Franti. If you're familiar with Michael Franti and Spearhead, the goat is Franti.
Oh, nice. Okay, so we have a couple little traditions as we're kind of moving towards the end of our show here. But one of them is, if you had a group of college kids kind of undecided as to their career, what kind of testimony can you give to maybe encourage them to maybe consider Parks and Recreation as a career path, kind of what it's meant to you, what's your why, the purpose that it has for you in your life?
I think, part of it is I shouldn't say all of this. I'll speak for myself. I experienced and enjoyed Parks and Recreation growing up for sure, and continue to as an adult. I remember as a kid participating in softball, and it never occurred to me that that's a career path. So it wasn't until I talked to people and met people that it was like, oh, this is a thing that you can do as a job, right? And who doesn't love that? So there's things that, I will always be honest that, when people hear what I do and they hear my title, it's either I get one of two responses. Either that sounds like fun, or is it like the TV show, right? And it is fun, but it isn't always fun, right? I do our challenges just like anybody else would, but at the end of the day, I'm serving the community, and you get to see the benefits of that. It's really quite beautiful seeing the community come together at events, or somebody learning how to swim, for example. When you talked about that, that's such an important life skill, and we provide that to folks. I think the pandemic just made it so clear how important social interactions are. So our seniors at our active adult center, just seeing them engage with one another in programs and in social activities, how important that is. And we get to do that. We get to provide that. And there's so many, I mean, there's just so many different things that you can do in the field that, I've mentored a young man in a different community and brought him in and introduced him to different people, like our forestry team and our grant writer and our city leadership team, so that he could experience all the different things that you can do within this field. So you don't, because I think sometimes people think like, oh, that's sports, or, oh, that's, summer camp. It's so much more than that. You can do marketing. You could do, there's so many different things you can do and be in Parks and Rec and give back to your community. So yeah. I think just the variety and the good you feel is worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And 100% agree with, the diversity of talent that it takes to run a whole Parks and Rec department. It really is just like any major business or any, if you go work for anyone, everyone needs accountants, marketing, management. And then you've got indoor and outdoor. You've got weekend events. You've got pretty much special events. There's so many things you can do. There's almost something for everyone if you just want to work in an environment where you're giving back, building up your community, making a difference, impacting young kids' lives. I mean, this is the industry. It's the industry for you. Okay, so we have a couple of fun questions that we do. And then you'll have to leave behind a question. So it's a tradition where the previous guest left you a question, and then you'll have to leave a question for our next victim here. So I'll give you two, actually. One is, and this one comes from Dante Watson over in Santa Rosa, California. It was a very powerful question. Actually, these are two powerful questions. And the other one is from Shannon Elsie over in Oak Brook, Illinois. So from Dante, he says, tell us a story when someone came back into your life from long ago that you impacted through Parks and Rec and said, maybe you might not have realized you made this difference in my life, but it was a big impact. Is there anyone that kind of fits that description?
I can think of the first person that comes to mind is a young man that I worked with when I was in therapeutic recreation. So hopefully that counts as adjacent, not necessarily Parks and Rec, but close.
Yeah.
And I remember when he first came in, the very first day, he was like, will you teach me gymnastics? And I'm like, well, I don't really know gymnastics, but we'll figure it out together. Like, that's not my area of expertise. But I really kind of, dug in and found people that could help him with that skill that he wanted to learn. And there's just so many other things that, you don't realize necessarily the impact that you're making on somebody, but he's come back to me and just kind of said, you always told me to follow my dreams. And other people are like, because, he wanted to be like a singer and a performer and all of these things. And people were like, in his family were like, you need to come up with a career path. That isn't a career path, go to school and do this thing. And I just kind of said, well, yeah, have some other interests and other things that you can look into, but always follow your dreams, like always. And he did, and he went on to be like a performer on a cruise ship and all these, he's done different jobs along the way that really fill his soul. And he just kind of came back and told me that how much he appreciated that, I supported him in his dreams in that way. And I think I don't even realize that I did that. So
yeah,
so that was,
and that really is a big part of Parks and Rec, especially a lot of coaches that will have little kids come back as full grown adults, calling them coach and stuff. But okay. And then from Shannon, what is your legacy that you would like to leave behind?
I think I'll go back to the mentoring. That's the most important thing I feel like in my career is, I'm at the director level. I don't have anywhere else I need to go. I don't have any strong desire to go work for a bigger city, maybe someday, but I am where I'm happy. I'm where I want to be. So my focus now is really helping others within my organization and outside of my organization. I've mentored folks in other communities, but really helping people to be where they want to be, where they can shine, where they can bring their talent forward and be the best that they can be. And if that means being in another organization, that's totally fine. I want to see everyone that I work with shine and reach their full potential. So that's my legacy, is really helping people to reach their full potential.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And that really is such a common thread in this industry. That's kind of part of the culture, is just this, lifting people up, versus some industries, it's kind of just the opposite. People trying to hold you back, or, keep you from climbing the ladder. In this industry, the whole industry is trying to push you up the ladder or help you out.
Yeah, I don't need a wall named after me or anything. I'm fine. I just want to be behind the scenes and make sure everyone.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much for that. That's such a great contribution. Good example too. What question would you like to leave behind for our next guest?
Great question. Well, I always like the silly Parks and Rec moments. Like, we talk about the TV show and how what we see day to day is more interesting than the show's funny, but what we see is funnier. So I'd like to ask the next guest, like, what's a funny, weird thing that's happened in their career that, God, people might not believe it, but it happened. Because we all have those.
Actually,
weird that a resident did or said, or a phone call you got, or an email, or just something weird.
we just launched our newsletter, and we're considering having like the old-fashioned comic book section populated by this.
Yeah.
So that would be great. Well, Karen, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I really appreciate everything that you kind of share with us and what you're doing, especially with all the regenerative gardening and urban forestry and all you're giving back to the mentorship capacity. Really think you're really setting a great example for people that hopefully follow in your footsteps.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig.
And then have an awesome vacation.
I
I want to hear all the stories about it. Maybe send some pictures and we'll put it up and post it if you're open to it.
Why not?
That's it. Well, safe travels, and thank you for coming on to the show.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Bye. All right. So that was Karen over in Colorado area around the Denver metro, Wheat Ridge. What a great example of a director that's now in full-on give back mode, helping people out. That is her legacy she wants to leave behind. And I think it's such a common thread inside of Parks and Rec to just want to help lift people up, introduce people into the industry, and then help them, develop themselves as leaders and expose to them all the opportunities. And there's tons of opportunities in this industry to just increase your skill set, train yourself up. And then, of course, every day at work, you're giving tons of opportunity to lead a project, a special event, a new playground being built. The industry is great for that. We even joked about it in one of our most recent shows that, in many other industries, there'd no way you'd get in charge of a big, $500,000 playground setup in your 20s, or of a whole community center. But in Parks and Rec, you will find yourself in your 20s leading the charge for a special event or for a senior center. And you need that kind of classroom to kind of hone your skills. And in this industry, you will absolutely be given chances to lead. And that's where you become a leader, when you have those opportunities to lead. So great industry to consider. Again, thank you, Karen, so much for your testimony and the hard work you do. Really appreciate you coming on to the show today. All right. So in about a half hour, we'll be having a show for the Youth Sports Mastery Show with host Aaron Locks. So looking forward to that. We'll see y'all here in a minute. Thanks a lot.